Laura from JRMSU Tampilisan Campus. In this short video that I'm going to show you today contains the types of plagiarism and some tips on how to avoid those. But first, let us define what plagiarism is. Plagiarism is the unauthorized use of language and thoughts of another author in writing and submitting this as one's own. This act entails fabrication, theft, and forgery, which are violations of copyright laws in the academe. There are forms of plagiarism. Number 1. Verbatim or word-for-word plagiarism. This exists when one publishes another's article with exact texts under his or her name without openly mentioning it, or cutting and pasting from a written document without any reference. Number 2. Mosaic plagiarism. This arises where each phrase is not replicated, but it includes combining one's own vocabulary with someone else's thoughts and views, copying and patching. Number 3 is paraphrasing. This involves editing every part or section of the text with your own terms, reiterating somebody else's thoughts as your own. Changing anyone's words does not render it the lender's ownership. Thus, if not cited, it would be plagiarism. Next is self-plagiarism. This is the submission of your own article previously published. It entails deception, but really not intellectual theft. For example, publishing similar manuscripts with the same study in various journals. The next one is cyber plagiarism. This does not correctly attribute copied or retrieved portion of the entire piece or article written online. And lastly is the image plagiarism. This is the use of a photograph or video without proper permission or sufficient reference. Now, it is easy to find information for most papers, but it's not always easy to add that information into your work without falling into the plagiarism trap. There are easy ways to avoid plagiarism. Follow some simple steps while writing your module to ensure that your book will be free of plagiarism. Here are some ways to avoid plagiarism. Number 1 is you have to paraphrase. For instance, you have found a material that is perfect for your module. Read it carefully, understand it thoroughly, and put it into your own words. Make sure that you do not copy verbatim more than 2 words in a row from the text you have found. If you do use more than 2 words together, you will have to use quotation marks, after which cite the authorities properly. Next is you have to cite. Citing is one of the effective ways to avoid plagiarism. Follow the document formatting guidelines in the APA 7th edition Manual of Publication. This usually entails the addition of the author or authors and the date of publication or similar information. Citing is really that simple. Not citing properly can constitute plagiarism. Coding. When coding a source, use the code exactly the way it appears. No one wants to be misquoted. Most institutions of higher learning frown on block quotes, or quotes of 40 words or more. A scholar should be able to effectively paraphrase most material. This process takes time, but the effort pays off. Coding must be done correctly to avoid plagiarism allegations. Another way is citing codes. Citing a code can be different than citing paraphrased material. This practice usually involves the addition of a page number or a paragraph number in the case of web content. Next is you have to cite your own material. If some of the material you're using was already used in your class, a previous one, or anywhere else, you must cite yourself. Treat the text the same as you would if someone else wrote it. It may sound odd, but using material you have used before is called self-plagiarism, and it is not acceptable. Lastly is referencing. One of the most important ways to avoid plagiarism is including a reference page at the end of your module. Again, this page must meet the document formatting guidelines used by the institution. This information is very specific and includes the author or authors, date of publication, title, and source. That's all for now. I hope you will view the next video on the basic rules in writing a reference list on a reference page. Bye!